Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. On today's show, Brian Cashman blames the Astros for the Yankees World Series drought. Aroldis Chapman thought winning a World Series with the Yankees would be easy. I try to explain to you and understand myself what Home Run Derby X is, and it's Throwback Thursday. We'll be looking back at a game from 11 years ago today. All next on Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, Yankee fans. I'm Stacey, your host. Welcome to Locked On Yankees. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. We hit 958 subscribers. We're getting closer and closer to 1,000. Opening day is a week from today. We would like to reach 1,000 by then, so try and help us do that. And we'll have a giveaway when that does happen. And if you have a smart device, you can tell it to play podcast Locked On Yankees. Oh, two more things. You can find us on Twitter, Locked On Yankees, all one word, and Instagram, Locked On Yankees, all one word. And I'm thinking about maybe starting a TikTok account. We'll see how that goes. Before we get into everything, Benjamin Coyne is the guy that hit the home run over the scoreboard. Could not think of the last name. Knew it began with a C. This was on Tuesday, and it just wasn't coming to me. So I apologize, Benjamin. Nice bomb. What's the second thing? Oh, it was just announced before I started recording that there will be 21 Yankee games exclusively on Amazon Prime. Now, I didn't have enough time to formulate thoughts about this, so we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show. But for now, I feel like it's good for people who have Amazon Prime. I have it, so I can watch the games, but what about people overseas? It's not just Americans that watch the Yankees. I have a friend in Israel who's pretty screwed now because she can't watch the Yankees as much as she would like to. So we'll get into that tomorrow. So, Brian Cashman. Oh, Brian Cashman. Why must this man give me things to talk about like this? Why can't they be good things? Why am I always complaining about Brian Cashman? Oh, okay. So it came out in The Athletic today. Oof. Yankees are in the World Series drought because of illegal and horrific actions by the Astros. That is a quote. So here we go. It's the whole thing. This is what he said. The only thing that stopped us was something that was so illegal and horrific. So I get offended when I start hearing we haven't been to the World Series since '09 because I'm like, well, I think we actually did it the right way. Pulled it down, brought it back up, drafted well, traded well, developed well, signed well. The only thing that derailed us was a cheating circumstance that threw us off. Okay. And this actually ties in with the Aroldis Chapman stuff also. I'll give you 2017. That was a big bummer. That team was a delight in the playoffs after Game 2 against Cleveland. Game 2 against Cleveland was an absolute S show. I won't say the full word. And at that point, I thought to myself, cool, they made it to the division series. They did a nice job. Good for them. They ran into Cleveland, who steamrolled them over them in the regular season as well. So kudos to you for getting as far as you did. Then they beat Cleveland in the division series, and you're thinking, interesting. Then with the way that the ALCS went, I remember thinking at the time that if it were reversed and the Yankees played 4 games at home and the Astros played 3, it would have been the other way around because the Astros just couldn't do anything at Yankee Stadium. And then we come to find out that the Astros were cheating, which it sucks. It sucks that it happened that way. But let's not pretend that the Yankees didn't try to cheat. There's stuff coming out about Apple Watches and that sealed letter that they want to expose, because the Yankees weren't punished. So maybe the Yankees should have cheated better. I don't know. Then you have Aroldis Chapman coming out and saying, oh, I thought it would be easier to win a World Series with the Yankees. Who gave up the walk-off home run to Jose Altuve on a really crappy pitch in 2019? Who gave up the eventual game-winning home run against the Rays in Game 5? Aroldis Chapman. 2 instances in which, if it weren't for him, maybe the Yankees would have made a World Series at least, or at least made it past a division series in 2020. That's amusing to me. That's very amusing to me. And of course, the general reaction to that is the same reaction that I'm having. That is some nerve. He has some nerve. And the Cubs overcame his boo-boo in the 2016 World Series. So what is he even talking about? Maybe he needs to watch game film of Mariano Rivera to see what it's like to be a closer and do your job and not screw up all the time. I mean, Mo had some infamous blow-ups in the playoffs, but for the most part, he's one of the best postseason pitchers ever, which is why he got into the Hall of Fame unanimously. And Aroldis Chapman isn't a bad pitcher. He just chooses to throw really crappy pitches at the most inopportune time. I still can't believe he threw Altuve that pitch. It's nearly 3 years later, and I'm still sitting here flummoxed. I don't understand. So yeah, between Brian Cashman saying what he said about the Astros and Aroldis Chapman complaining about how it's not easy, of course it's not easy to win a World Series. If it were that easy, more teams would do it. Oy. Ridiculous. Let me just see. There was something else from the Cashman thing. Oh, yes. He said, people are like, oh, we haven't been to a World Series. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's as true a statement as it could be. We had a World Series team, and either you get it done or you don't. First of all, can I say that I enjoy the fact that Brian Cashman says like as much as I do? He's not that much older than me, right? I believe he was born in 66, right? 68? How old was he when he became GM? Was he only 30? So he's not that much older than me. I was born in 1974. So we're in that generation of people who, when we're talking about conversations we had with people, will say, and they were like, and I was like, and we were like. And to hear someone who's the general manager of the most profitable team on earth say like that is kind of reassuring in a way. Does anyone else feel that way? Or do you feel as if it makes him sound like a Valley Girl? Not that there's anything wrong with that, really, but it's funny. I find it amusing that we all talk that way. It's a Gen X thing, I think. So I just wish he didn't come out and say that. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's just you had chances after 2017. You shouldn't have lost to the Red Sox in 2018, but there's a possibility that they were cheating as well. 2019, again, Aroldis Chapman. I mean, I could have hit that pitch, really. And 2020, against the Rays, that was really Aaron Boone's fault. I've talked about that many times on this show. The decision to start Davy Garcia in Game 2 and then bring in J-Happ in the second inning when J-Happ didn't like coming into games where he wasn't a starter. What? So there were a lot of factors that went into that one. But ultimately, Aroldis Chapman is the one that gave up the game-winning, series-winning home run. So, yeah, it isn't easy to win a World Series. But don't say stuff like that when you are the reason why some of these teams haven't been able to make it past a certain playoff series. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Final Four is this weekend. We excited? I know that Duke Carolina fans are really nervous because this is the first time that they're meeting like this. It usually doesn't work out that way. And I'm assuming that the Duke North Carolina game is going to be, it might be higher rated than the actual final. I'm just saying it now. But after months of playing, the Final Four is set. It's happening this weekend, and betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. From the latest odds, contests, and player props, you name it. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your latest sports development, including podcasts and reviews for all the leagues this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks once again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. You should listen to Locked On MLB Prospects when you're done with our show. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow, including some names we'll see on the field, hopefully in Yankee Stadium, as Yankees in the not-so-distant future. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. So let's talk about Home Run Derby X. We teased this yesterday, and then Abby and I got so engrossed in our conversations, we completely forgot to talk about it, and we realized it after we stopped recording. So I apologize for that. So we're going to get into it now, and I have to pull it up on my phone because it's too far away for me to read it on my computer. So let's do this. Introducing Home Run Derby X. When I first saw the teaser video, first MLB tweeted out the teaser video, and then it actually wasn't going to the right link, and there was an error message, which I thought was amusing. So, okay, let's get into this. Home Run Derby X. Inspired by the success of MLB's Home Run Derby, 4 teams representing the Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, and Cubs will compete in this tournament set to be played in London, Seoul, and Mexico City later this year. So the field will be different from what you're used to. Home plate will be mounted on a stage, and the pitcher's mount will be elevated on a podium. These are the focal points of the action, and they're going to be treated as such. The field of play is also smaller, but just like in the majors, each one will be slightly different based on where it's located to fit its environment, whether it's a festival site or a stadium. The locations haven't been announced for Seoul and Mexico City yet, but London's event will take place at Crystal Palace Park. Interesting. That place hosts both concerts and features. And features dinosaurs dotting the landscape. Okay, that'll be interesting. So the rules. Beyond swinging from a mounted batter's box, hitters will get to swing at 25 pitches and take up to 10 of them. That means they can see at most 35 pitches every at bat. Obviously, they'll be swinging for the fences like in a traditional derby, but if you ever played the MVP Baseball 2005 mini games, you may be a little familiar with what's next. I'm assuming, is that an Xbox game? I don't know. I haven't played video games since, Super Nintendo, so I'm not familiar on that. Batters can also earn points by hitting the targets. Oh. There will be 2 of them placed about 160 feet from home plate, and another 2 set beyond the outfield fence for the power hitters to take aim at. And there's one more twist. The opposition will have players in the outfield. They'll earn points by catching any balls that fail to make it over the fence. So it's going to have defense. You're not just going to see kids running around. The team is going to have people running around to catch the balls. There will be a winning team at each event, but just like the regular season, it will culminate with a knockout tournament to determine the Home Run Derby X Tour champions at the final event. Interesting. So the teams, Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs, each team will feature a former player who's considered a legend, a softball or women's baseball star, considered the superstar, a player from that region's local development system, considered the rookie, and an influential content creator. Wildcard. I'm a content creator. Why aren't I doing this? I'm kidding. I would never want to do that. I would not want to embarrass myself. Plus, I bat righty. I'm blind in this eye. So if I'm facing this way, if you're not watching on YouTube, picture a righty batter who can't see out of their left eye. That's me. So that's why my mom never let me play softball when I was a kid. So World Series champion and human spark plug, according to MLB.com, Johnny Gomes will be representing the Red Sox. Nick Swisher will be representing the Yankees as their legend. Gio Soto will be representing the Cubs, and Adrian Gonzalez will be representing the Dodgers. I think it's interesting. It could be fun. I almost feel like they should do this during the All-Star game. You know? Instead of having it in all different places, they should just do this sort of thing at the All-Star game. I think it could be fun. It'll be interesting. And I think, let me just double check here. How is this going? Wait a minute. Now I'm confused. Oh, so okay. So Paige Halstead is the superstar for the Red Sox. Liv Cook is the wild card. Alex Hugo is the superstar for the Cubs. Spencer Owen, wild card. Ashton Lansdale is the superstar. Yoonji Kwak is the wild card for the Dodgers. And, oh, okay. Everyone with complicated last names, why are you doing this to me? Erica Piancitelli. Erica, if I said your name wrong, I really am sorry. Superstar for the Yankees. And Stefania Aradies is the superstar for Mexico only for the Yankees. And Daniel Corral, wild card. So the Yankees are playing in a couple places, including Mexico. So they have a superstar for Mexico, and then in another place it'll be, okay, I get it. Yeah, it'll be interesting. The reaction to this was interesting too. It's funny. People were complaining that baseball is doing something like this, and it's not actually baseball. They're trying to spread the game overseas to different places, like London, and it's not actual baseball. It's a gimmick. But London had that series, that insane series between the Red Sox and Yankees in 2019 that saw the runs in those games was just the people in England. If they thought that baseball was always like that, they're in for a shock. No, they don't score this much all the time. No, they don't hit this much all the time. It's your crazy rinky-dink stadium that was making them score all that much. So I kind of like the idea. Like I said, I really wish it was actually going to happen during the All-Star festivities. That would be interesting to see. You know, American League, National League, the guys get to catch the ball instead of, although that wouldn't be fair to the kids who always look forward to doing that. But maybe if they had kids who were designated to be on each team, maybe if they did it like that, if they did some sort of a raffle, they picked some kids to be in the outfield and they were assigned American League, National League, and if they catch balls, get on this, MLB. I'm giving you free ideas. Not really. I'm just kidding. So what's next? Throwback Thursday. Okay. So it's 11 years ago, this game, but it's 11 years ago today because the last time they played on, no, this wasn't the last time they played on March 31st. And they should have played today. Today should have been opening day if the lockout didn't happen. But for Yankee fans, we're lucky because now they're not on the road in Texas and Houston. They'll be starting the season against the Red Sox at home. At least it's at home, you know, and not in Fenway. So March 31st, 2011, Yankees, Tigers. It was very damp and very chilly that day. I used to have opening day. No, I didn't have opening day then. I had to buy opening day that year. I was sitting in the upper deck in the 300s in the corner close to the right field foul pole. And it was miserable. So I got up to walk a few times to warm up. And I was by myself because I enjoy going to baseball games by myself. I'm not one of those people who gets embarrassed about being alone. I eat by myself. I don't care. Start time 1:11. Attendance 48,226. It was a manageable 302. Tigers lineup: Austin Jackson, Will Rhymes, Maglio Ordonez, Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, Ryan Rayburn, Johnny Peralta, Brandon Inge, Alex Avila. Why did I say Avila? And Justin Verlander. That's right. Brett Gardner, Derek Jeter, Mark Teixeira, A-Rod, Robinson Cano, Nick Swisher, Jorge Posada was DHing, Curtis Granderson, Russell Martin, and the pitcher, CC Sabathia. Your umps for the day: Dale Scott at home, Jerry Meals at first, CB Buckner at second, and Dan Iasonia at third. Yeah, it was 42 and windy that day. It was brutal. 42 doesn't seem that low until you're sitting in 42 degree weather, and then it's not fun at all. So the game was quiet until Johnny Peralta hit a sac fly in the top of the second that scored Miguel Cabrera, and the Tigers went up 1-0 at that point. And in the bottom of the third, I had gotten really cold, so I started walking around to warm myself up. Russell Martin hit a single. Brett Gardner sacrificed him over to second with a bunt, ground out. Derek Jeter walked, and while Mark Teixeira was up, Russell Martin stole third base, and then Teixeira hit a home run. And I remember when this happened, I was on the main level, close to behind home plate. And as I was walking, I just happened to look away and then heard the smack of the home run and the roar of the crowd. And then I ran up behind the seats and saw that Teixeira hit the home run. And I thought to myself, of course, I'm not in my seats and this happens. So the Yankees went up 3-1. Alex Rodriguez hit a fly ball to center, and then Robinson Cano struck out looking. In the top of the fourth, Brandon Inge hit a single that scored Miguel Cabrera, and it was 3-2 Yankees. Miguel Cabrera hit a sac fly in the top of the fifth that tied the score at 3. And then in the bottom of the seventh, I walked around again because I kept getting cold. 42 degrees is not warm. It was cold. So I was walking around. This time I was on the second level of Yankee Stadium. And if I recall correctly, I was just past first base and Curtis Granderson led off with a home run. Led off the inning with a home run. So the Yankees were up, 5-3. And then Derek Jeter hit a sac fly that scored Russell Martin. Later in the inning, Yankees go up. Oh, no, sorry. That put them up 5-3. Curtis Granderson gave them the lead at 4-3. And then in the bottom of the eighth, Nick Swisher, who will be your home run derby ex-representative, hit an RBI single that scored A-Rod and put the Yankees up 6-3. And then Mo came in, got Peralta to fly out, Inge to fly out, and Avila to strike out looking to win the game. 2011, that was the year when they played the Tigers in the division series. And the game, was it game one that they started and then had to stop because of the bad weather, right? And then it continued the next day. I actually didn't have tickets to game one, but a friend of mine did from Virginia, and he couldn't come to the resumption of the game, so he gave me and my brother the tickets. And that was the Robinson Cano hits the home run off Al Albuquerque. I think it was a grand slam, right? And that was when Mike Francesa didn't believe that Al Albuquerque was a real person. He actually said it on his show. He didn't believe that obviously, if you hear the name Al Albuquerque, you probably wouldn't believe it was a real person. But when your job is to cover sports on a New York radio station, I think you should know that Al Albuquerque is actually a person, Mike Francesa. Actually, speaking of Mike Francesa, he's had some things to say about what Brian Cashman had to say about the Astros, and I thought it was interesting. Let me get it. I will read it to you in case you didn't know. There's part of it I don't agree with. Okay. Cash sounds like a whiner and a loser. He also has very selective memory. Sounds like the drought, the recent performance, and the Mets are getting to him. Surprised. He's usually been tougher than this. How have the Mets gone to him? What have the Mets done? I know they made the World Series in 2015, but is it because the Mets can spend and he can't? He's kind of hamstrung by the payroll? Is that what he means? Because otherwise, no, the Mets aren't affecting him. No. Oh, he sounds like a whiner and a loser. Who does that sound like to you? I won't say, but you know who I'm talking about. Okay, Mr. Francesa. I don't know, whatever. I just wish that Brian Cashman didn't say that, because now it's fodder for everyone else. And the Yankees have been the butt of enough jokes the past couple of weeks, Mr. Cashman, and I don't think that they need to be the butt of more jokes. Really? Again, 2019 and 2020, especially 2019, Could have made a World Series then if your closer didn't throw a really crappy pitch to Jose Altuve that anyone could have hit. It was such a bad pitch. Oh my God. Every time I think of it. And even going into Game 5 of the 2020 season. Yeah, 2020 Division Series. I said, Cashman. No, Cashman didn't give up the home run. Chapman gave up the home run. I saw it. As if I were watching a movie, I saw it happen before it happened. I knew it was going to happen. And I think most people watching that game knew that Chapman was going to give up a home run. You felt it. It felt like it was inevitable. And when it happened, you just throw up your hands and think, great, why can't I predict lottery numbers this well? No, I only have to predict bad things. I can't predict good things, ever. It always has to be a disaster, like Aroldis Chapman giving up big home runs in big spots. You want your closer to be a closer. And it wasn't entirely his fault. I mean, the lineup couldn't hit. But when you're in that situation, you can't give up home runs like that. And then you can't come out and say, oh, I thought it was going to be easier to win a World Series with the Yankees. Dude, what are you doing? Just stop. Stop with the bulletin board material. Bulletin board material as in giving everyone else ammo to joke about your team and what you're saying about your team. That's what I mean. Because as I said, Cashman is being made fun of at every turn now because of what he said about the Astros. And again, he's right. They did cheat. But that was 5 years ago. There were other years the Yankees could have done something and they didn't. So stop blaming them for the drought that could have ended in 19 or 20. So that's it for this episode of Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'd like to remind you that you can listen to this show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, we're getting closer and closer to 1,000, and when we hit that, we're giving something away. And when you get into your car, you can tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On MLB. Now make your second listen of the day Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on the major leagues, both past and present. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. One more thing. If you could be so kind, please rate the podcast and spread the word about this podcast to your fellow Yankee fans. We'd really appreciate it. Enjoy your Thursday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.